Okay, as promised, here's a video of me taking apart my Nespresso. So you probably recognise this. All I've done is removed this front drip tray and removed obviously this pod catcher slash drip tray from the front, and this is how it then looks. I've also removed I've got a red one, so there's also red panels on the side. So these just clipped off, they're clipped on just with these little clips that you can see just there and there and there, but unfortunately they were quite tricky to get off, and I did actually, I don't know if you can see it here, accidentally snapped one little tab off. It's not focusing, but I think you need to be careful. One thing I would say is that I think the reason that they maybe snapped is because you need to lift the whole machine out of the base, because as you can see there are little pegs on the bottom here which actually clip just down the side of the machine here, like that. So actually what you need to do is you need to lift this up and out of the base slightly to then get those red panels off. Anyway, once you've got the panels off, this is what you're left with. Plus this bit on the front, obviously. So the next thing I did was to just clip this off. This just clipped in with little plastic clips, so just carefully with a little screwdriver just wedged it into the side and clipped this bit off. And then I was left with this. So the next step, so my problem was I had a drip, an excessive drip coming down from somewhere under the machine into the drip tray. So the drip tray was actually filling up within 1 or 2 cups. The drip tray would be filled and overflowing, which obviously is an excessive amount, so that's why I took it apart. The next thing was that then once you lift this up, again there's a couple of clips of the housing, and then that just lifts up over the top like this. One thing to be wary of here is that obviously the buttons are on the top connected by this white wire at the side down into the base, so you just have to be aware of that. But the wire should be coiled up inside, so if you straighten the wire out, it gives you just enough give to get that up and over the top of the handle there, and that comes off like that. So I just had to remove the water container before it fell over. So with a little bit of jiggery pokery you can get the top off. And this is what you're left with. So that top's still attached with the wire. As I said, the buttons are up here. I think there is a way actually to get these buttons off to separate it from this plastic, but I didn't bother because it's stretched up and over. So you're left with this. So what I then had to do was get the right sort of screwdriver, which wasn't a Phillips head and it wasn't a flat head. It was actually, this isn't the one that I used, but it was actually a star shape. See if I can show you the tops of the screws. So again, I'm not sure how much you can appreciate that on the video, but those are a 6-pointed star shape. So you need the right type of screwdriver. I tried a Phillips head and a flat head, but they didn't actually work. And by chance I found a little star shaped screwdriver that I had in a kit. Anyway, those screws came from here and here and here and here. So 4 screws. And once you've unscrewed them, you can take this off. So I'll show you from the side. This is the bit that comes off. So that's the brew unit. And at this point it's only attached by that blue pipe which just pinged off there. So obviously that's not supposed to ping off. When the end of this pipe goes into the back of the brew unit, you can see there's just that little circular hole there with an O-ring. Once the pipe goes in there, there is this little clip that you insert into holes on the side just to keep the pipe in place. But obviously I've removed that before I removed the brew unit and then subsequently pulled the pipe out. So this is the brew unit, so this is the bit of mine that was faulty. So actually, if you look at the front of this brew unit, this plastic bit, so from here forwards, actually also comes off. So you can wedge that off carefully. And it's just held on with a little clip either side, just that little clip there. And the same on the other side, and it just comes off like that. So basically this is what it looks like. So that's where the coffee comes out, although if you try and work it without those coverings on that I've taken off, the silver one on the front and the little black one that I've just taken off, then the coffee sprays out everywhere because it's obviously under quite high pressure. So I think when those coverings are on, they form a little drip tray here which just catches all those drips and directs it down into your cup. Sorry. This is the top, so that's where your capsule goes, that's your handle, you recognise all of that. So your capsule goes in there, and then you depress the handle. So I'll try and show you what happens when you put the handle down. I mean, you can see most of this from the inside of the machine anyway, but when you put the handle down, as you've seen in your own machine, it catches the capsule and presses it. So initially I thought maybe my leak was coming from around the seal of the capsule, just where you can see that rim, and it just presses on the inside of your machine there. So I thought there was maybe a rubber gasket which was just worn out and replaced because it's a relatively old machine, but actually there's no rubber there, and there's not any rubber here that I can see, so I think it's just purely pressure that forms that seal between there and there. So I heard a couple of people say that I had maybe used some off-brand Nespresso pods, which I have, and maybe they're thicker than the branded Nespresso pods, which they probably are, and over time that can wear down that mechanism and just create a wee bit of a gap, so that then when you do go back to using the thinner rimmed Nespresso pods, it can leave you with a bit of a leak. So initially I thought maybe that was what had happened, but on further testing I don't think it is. Actually, where the water pipe, the blue water pipe that I told you about, goes into the back, seemed like it was all sealed because there was no water coming from under here. Actually, where the water seemed to be coming from was, if I can show you, oops, somewhere in here. So not here where you would expect if it was an adequate seal. It was coming from somewhere back here. So I think that this bit here, maybe at the back of the pod, because the pod goes in here, you can see just inside there. So I think the leak was coming from somewhere in there, you know, proximal to this seal that I was so concerned about. So who knows where the leak was. This brew unit is all self-contained. I mean, as you can see, it's got safety screws on it, which don't look to have any mechanism for getting them off, or at least not without a special tool. This one here and that one there. So, I mean, I don't have any special tool to get them off. So I went no further, and all I did was just purchase a new brew unit. So you can buy this online for about, I got mine for £30 because I'm in the UK, plus about £5 postage, so it's £35 altogether. I'm not sure what that is in dollars. So to put it all back together, I just did all the same steps in reverse. So this is the new brew unit. If you open it, you can see the hole for the hose to go in. So basically that sits in there, the hose goes into the hole like that, and then you put that little clip on like I already showed you. So this little clip just slots into the side here just to keep that hose in place. Once that's on, you put on your 4 screws, there, on the other side, there and there. Then you put your black plastic cover back on, and then once that's on, you can put your housing back on. Again, this is the one that's attached with the wire with the buttons on it. And then once that's on, you put your silver one on over the top, and it should start to look normal again. And then you put the panels back on the side. If you can do that without snapping off any of the little plastic tabs as well, which is quite difficult to do, I have to say. I mean, it will still go back on. I only broke 1 or 2 of them, so it will hold, but it is slightly broken. But you wouldn't notice it unless you really closely inspected it. In terms of the rest of the mechanism, I have no idea because I didn't really go to the back of the machine. So basically, this is where your pods and your drip tray are stored. This is the brew unit that we've replaced, but all of this at the back I haven't touched. So this is where the water comes out of your water storage tank, goes into here, and I don't know what all this stuff is. So presumably there is a pressure pump, there is maybe a circuit board, a control panel, because certainly these wires coming from the buttons seem to be going somewhere. And there's probably, well, there must be a heating element in there as well that the water passes through. So I'm not sure what all these pipes are and where they're going to and from, but certainly the last one to come out of the whole apparatus is this blue one, which just has clean boiled water, and then it goes into the brew unit, which we've already seen. So I don't know if that was helpful to you, but there you go. That's what it looked like when I took it apart. And it was relatively easy to do down to the bit that I did. I've not got any particular skill or expertise. I think when you started going into these bits at the back, you'd probably be getting into specialised tool / knowledge territory. A few years ago I did develop a leak coming from the base, and what it turned out to be was this little right angle piece here. Again, it's got one of those clips that I showed you already up the top, but I just pulled that one out, and there's another one down there. I pulled that one out and just replaced this right angle piece because there was a little crack here just at the corner. I have no idea what this does, but that's what I did, and that was about 3 or 4 years ago. I just ordered that from a spare parts website online. Can't remember how much it was, but it wasn't expensive. It would have been about £10 at most, and that's it. So hope that was useful. Hope you enjoyed it. Good luck.